This recording was funded by the European Union. Its contents are the sole responsibility of Man to Man podcast and do not necessarily reflect the views of the European Union. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Man to Man, courtesy of the European Union. I'm your host, Hugo Ribatica. You know, one of the conversations that many of us have, probably don't have, is how do you deal with somebody who's a former convict, somebody who's been incarcerated at some point in their lives? But more importantly, how do these individuals reintegrate into the greater society when they step out of prison? Mlungisi is with us on this edition of Man to Man. Mlungisi, thanks so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you so much, Hugo, and greetings to your guest.
Well, it's good to have you here. You were in prison for 21 years, I think you indicated. Talk to us about life that led to you being in prison for that long.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. As I was growing up, I grew up under a good guidance of two lovely parents. But somehow, due to the fact that I had to be apart from them and go to another guidance, so I got exposed to different kinds of friends, and as a result of that, we didn't go that much far. We ended up, doing things that are not right. But firstly, it happens like this. As I was at school, there was these guys who were older than me. They used to come to my place.
How old were you at the time?
I was 17. So they used to come to my space, especially at school. And they were not even schooling, but they used to come to my at school at the gate and come and collect me. And when I enter into their cars, and you'll find that there's money, there's girls, there's everything. So little did I know that that was just a something that the devil was using for me to be caught up in a long run. And unfortunately, one day I asked them to say, guys, how are you making it that you get to have this money and live like this? And then they say, oh no, don't worry, for now let us just enjoy, but as time goes by, you will know how we do this.
So when they were talking to you about let's enjoy, were you spending the money with them?
Yes. They will come and fetch me at the school gate, and then wait for me at after school, especially on Fridays. And then when I enter into the cars, and I'll find that there's life here, and this is the life that I like. I envy it actually, because it was really enticing. So I enjoy it, but eventually, the first time when they wanted us to go and experience that, it is then that everything got shattered. So unfortunately, then that day, it was the day that I was arrested.
So, two things. You talked about being raised by a great mum and dad.
Yes.
Did you leave your mum and dad at some point to go and live elsewhere, or were they still in the picture?
No, I left them because I was now transferred to another school. I grew up at the farm actually.
Yeah.
So then I have to be going to a school at a location. So that's where now I was now not in the hands of my parents.
Who were you living with in the locations?
I was living with my my ex father's so ex father, yeah.
Okay. So like your stepfather?
No. Stepmother. My father has got a child with that mother.
Okay.
Yes. So then my parents discussed that to say, since the transport will be too much for them, can't they at least give me an opportunity to be there from Monday until Friday? Then Friday I will come back at home. So during that time, in the week, that's where now I get to get new friends.
Okay. So now you said it happened.
Yes.
What happened that then led to your arrest?
Okay. What happened is one of the days we were sitting down. Apparently, these guys now, it seems like they had nothing, but they had got a plan to say, look, we know a certain farm somewhere that has got money. And then we draw up a map. And then they told me the role that I should play in that particular scene. And then because I was the youngest, so they gave me the front role to play. So my role was to open the gate, actually to press the button so that the people, they can come out. And then they will, at that time, they will be at the back and come and catch them at the gate. So that was the plan. So upon arrival there, we find that there was no car, because they told me to say that I must check on the garage. If the garage is closed, it means that there are people there. So apparently the garage was open, and I could see that there was no car. So then there was a whistle that I blow, as per the way we have communicated. And then we entered into the house, all of us there. There were dogs, but they didn't do us harm. And then we enter at the back door. Yes.
So how did you get caught?
Whilst we were inside there, we found that there were so many items that were very valuable for us to sold them. And then one other thing that has made us actually not to go out at the same time, because the owners of the house were not there, is that we saw a safe of money, and then we thought to say that we have to wait for them to come so that they can give us the key for that. So we thought it was a lot of money, so we waited there. So it was 3:00, so we waited 2 hours, and then 5:00 they came. So as they entered, then we managed to wrap them, and then they gave us the key. Unfortunately, found that there it was not what we thought it was money. No, it was just guns. Remember, the owner of that house was a soldier. Yes.
Wow.
So on our way, after we took their car and everything that we thought that was available, and then on our way, unfortunately, because we were 4, and one of the guys that was driving for us, he was not even good in driving. I think it was his first day to drive there.
Wow.
So unfortunately, then it couldn't take us far. And then on a highway, patrollers, as they come and see that there was something fishy here. They interrogate us and ask to say, where are we from? We say that we are from a farmer, but we are going to a location. They say, do you have a driver's license? We say, no, that's why we are driving this time. They say, no, okay, but they suspected that there was something wrong. And then they say, okay, how can we help you? We say that we don't have a gasol, so please help us with the petrol. Okay, they say, I know, we are coming. And then they went, and then they called the cops. So as we were there, and then we saw the cops were coming from different areas. And then we have to take that money that we got, and we ran away.
Had you harmed these farmers, or this farmer and his wife, at all?
Yes, they were harmed because they were kicked, and they were very much harmed in terms of, like, they were thrown with the hot water and stuff like that.
But you left them alive?
Yes.
And then the cops came, you were accosted, the 4 of you, you said?
We were not arrested at the time. We managed to get home safely. So the thing is that everywhere where we're going, we just left footprint, because we'll go into a shibin, and then when we come there, and then we will ask them to give us a expensive whiskey, and then we take that one and wash our hands with it, and then we go there, and give people tips and stuff like that. So those were the footprints. So upon the investigation of the policies, then that's where they saw there was these 4 guys who were acting like this, having money and so forth and so forth. And then in the community, people recognize us. And, oh man, one of these guys was who? So that's how we get arrested.
Okay, so let's fast forward. You go to court, and then you were sentenced to how long?
I was sentenced to life plus 23 years, 6 months.
Wow. And how old were you at the time?
I was 19.
What were the emotions that went through your heart, when you were sentenced to 23 years plus life?
Firstly, I didn't understand when the judge was saying to me, I am sentencing you to life imprisonment. Yes, I understand the 23 years, 6 months. But the life part of it, I didn't understand it. Hence, I asked the presiding officer on that particular day to say, what do you mean when you are saying you are sentencing me to life imprisonment? So the interpreter interpreted to me to say, as long as the walls of the prison are still standing, you stand no chance to go outside. And that was the mind that I entered prison with. That's why the first thing first that I checked in the prison, it was the walls of the prison. How strong are they and stuff like that. I was looking at the walls.
Were you thinking about trying to escape?
Yes, I did escape eventually. Yes. But I saw the walls of the prison were really, really, really strong. And even the keys that were locking me behind, they were countless. So I told myself, no, I'm in a mess. So it was really difficult.
Did you ask yourself any questions at the time?
Yes, I did. Questions such as like, am I going to see my family again? Is this how my life is ending? So many questions came to my life. What's the best way of solving this problem that I've put myself in?
Now, Mlungisi, you mentioned that you escaped at some point.
Yes. That's why I got 18 months. You remember I told you that I was sentenced to life plus 23 years, 6 months. So I got 18 months for an escape, because after some time I thought to myself that, no, really, I cannot stay here. This life is not good. And then I got an opportunity to escape. And then I escaped. But after 9 months, then I was rearrested again. And then, yeah.
How did you escape?
I was going to a court for a further charge. So I was going to the court for a further charge. And then that day, usually when you go to a court, and then they return you to prison. And then, unfortunately, that day, when we went to a court, it happens that they couldn't return us back because there was a serious crime that was happening there. So most of the officers were busy that day. So they said, okay, you will remain here in police custody, and then you will come back tomorrow. And that day, we found guys were already very planning to go that night.
Okay.
So we got an opportunity to go out with them.
How many were you from your crew?
2 of us managed to escape that night, but 2 did not.
So what did you do in these 9 months that you were free?
In these 9 months, I was at a place called Bushbuck Ridge, and I went there because of I befriended somebody that was there at the police cell that day. I didn't know him, but I asked him to say, my friend, where are you from? And then he said that I'm from the side of Bushbuck Ridge. And then I thought to myself that I cannot go to my place or nearby. So let me join this gentleman. However, I didn't trust him because it was a person that I found him inside. So I don't know, but risky. So and then I went with him, and then we went to Bushbuck Ridge at a place that I totally don't know. But yeah, he was very good to me. introduced me to his family, and then I got to stay well in that 9 months because his family was having a house that size that was not having a person to stay with. So I came there, and then I found, okay, this is a place to stay. So I stayed there.
And how did you survive? How did you look after yourself? Were you working? How were you earning a means to sustain yourself?
I was not working, and I was also afraid to go outside and pander because I didn't know the place. But the gentleman managed to go and work, and of course he will share with me. And then even that family was very good to me. They used to take care of me.
And they knew that you were an escaped prisoner?
Sorry?
Did they know that you were an escaped prisoner?
Yes, we were very much honest to them.
Did this surprise you? That they didn't judge you and they took you in and they treated you like one of their own?
It was really surprising. But on the other hand, I thought, okay, because of their son also is here. So, of course, they will see that it's something that is happening to one family, so it's different families. So, but honestly, they didn't like the fact that we escaped from prison, because they thought that to say, you guys, you are making things even worse. So you should have been, be accountable of what you did and change your minds and live better.
So were you both then arrested at the same time after the 9 months?
Yes, because we were told that the police, after having received my letter, because what happened is that I was so tired of staying in the house. So up until I got somebody who told me to say, here in this area, there is a one woman who can help you, the police, not to come to you. So that woman is good, is a good sangoma. So I say, okay, that sounds good to me. So we went to that particular person, and then when we entered that particular person, the first thing that he told me is to say, you are coming from an area where there is only men. Place that men are being circumcised. But at the same time, I see you wearing one uniform. Then when she was saying those things, okay, I said, okay, this one is good, because she understands that I was from the men camp and whatnot. Then I started to say, this one is the right one. And then she told me to say, but the unfortunate part is that I cannot help you unless you bring one of your elder to be part of this ceremony. That's why I made a mistake of writing a letter. Remember, then there were no phones. So I had to write a letter home telling my mother, for the first time I'm going to tell you the truth. I've escaped in prison and here I am. So please, I need you to support me. Already things has happened. And then the letter was addressed to my mother, but the address was where my mother was working. Unfortunately, the police came after they heard that I did escape, to notify the employee of my mother to say, please make it a point that when you get a call or any letter that comes to this mother, you must via police station. So the information in that letter of mine was caught by the police. That's how they fetched me.
And they came to get you?
Yes.
And you got an extra 18 months in prison?
Correct.
Now, you were sentenced to life in prison plus?
22 years.
Plus 22 years?
Yes.
But this is 2024 and you're out of prison. How did that happen?
The grace of the Lord has been really sufficient to me. It was not easy. I was rejected 3 times. My application was rejected 3 times.
What application?
The application to the minister. As a life offender, you need to write a letter to an application to the Minister of Correctional Services, where you ask that you be given an opportunity of a parole. So unfortunately, in my case, 3 times I was rejected. My application was rejected. But now finally...
Did you write the same letter 3 times? or did you change your letter each time you wrote it?
Each time I change it, because I will make efforts inside to get more programs, because what qualifies you most is your participation inside prison on positive things that are being exposed to you.
So what sort of things were you doing in prison?
Like life skills, anger management, church, all those programs, including computer skills, vocational trainings, and all that. They are in your, they are disposed in your place so that you can choose what to do. But the more you equip yourself, the more you get an opportunity to present your case, to say, this is what I've done, I will do better when I go outside.
Mlungisi, you were 19 years old when you went into prison. How difficult was life there?
Very difficult, because the first thing, I was the first offender. And then as a first offender, I don't know anything about prison, and I only heard horrible things about prison. And here I am. I'm now walking the corridors of the prison, and as I was entering the prison, I remember that first day when I was entering that particular prison, I saw there was no handsome man there. Everybody was on the window crying for us to say we should come into their cells. And when I look at them, I say, these men are calling for us to come in here. What is going to happen? So it was really difficult as a young boy. But it was a time for me to account of what I did. It was time for me to stand for what I did. I had no chance whether I cry or do what, but now it was time to pay back.
So let's fast forward to, you've written these 3 letters applying to the Minister of Correctional Services for parole. You've been denied 3 times. At what point was your application received and approved?
It was 2019 when I got the good news that my application has been approved, and therefore it has been successful. So I'm going to be granted a parole to go outside on the 4th of March 2019. It was 2018 then. I think it was November when I got the news, and it was so exciting to get those news.
How many years had you spent in prison?
Sorry?
How many years had you spent in prison?
21 full years.
And the day that you came out, when were you happier? The day that you received the news that you were going to come out, or on the actual day that you came out?
The actual day, because yes, the news was there to excite me, to say that you are finally, been forgiven and given a chance to go back to your family. But still, because I was in that walls, and I was not that much sure about this. Yes, on paper, it was written to say that I'm going to be paroled. But tell you what, the day when I saw those officers left me in the taxi rank, uncuffed and everything, and say, "Go well, man," that was the day I felt the joy.
And where did you go?
My family came and collected me to Soweto, Protea Clan. They said that I must relocate from where I did the crime to a new place so that I can start a new life again.
Had your family been coming to visit you while you were in prison?
Yes, they did, especially my mother.
So let's talk about adjustment. Obviously, you moved back home. You're in Protea Glen with your mom and your family, and your family's accepted you. Did they ask any questions?
Yes, they did. They wanted to know that what is it that they have failed me in, and they also wanted to know why did I eventually take that decision to commit such a heinous crime. Then I open up and tell them that I was also vulnerable and I couldn't think well. So there was this thing that was in front of me, which was bling bling. I saw a life that I can live nicely with it. But as for you, my parents, you did anything the best way. But it's just that because of greediness, that's how I ended up in debt. So they accepted.
Now, the one thing that you said earlier was that you were happy because when you heard that you were getting paroled, because you'd been forgiven, right? So this assumes that the state had forgiven you, had given you another chance. What about the family that you and your gang hurt? Were you ever able to make contact with them?
Yes, I think I was in my. I was about to go outside. I think 2 years before I go outside. There's a program that is called restorative justice that is offered to any offender who is willing to participate in that program. The program is aimed at bringing a perpetrator and a victim together for a closure of a victim. So I participated in that particular program, and they tried to call my victims, but then unfortunately they said they don't want to participate and even to see me with their eyes anymore. So the correctional services tried to explain to them to say, no, this does not mean that when you guys are communicating, it means that he is going to get a chance to go outside, or he is not to get a chance to go outside. It's just that for you to get closure, you understand, to understand why it happens and whatnot. But they rejected it. So those attempts were not futile.
So what would you have said to them? If they had accepted it, what would you have said to them? If they'd sat across from you like this, what would you have said to them?
I will definitely be happy to tell them that I'm sorry of what I did. If I could reverse things, then I will have done it. And then I will also tell them what caused us to be doing that in their family and stuff like that. And I think I was just going to be open up honestly to tell them the honest truth.
So let's talk about integration back into the community, right? Part of the conversation that we had earlier is that, I mean, you look very well. You've been out of prison a few years, but it looks like life has treated you well. Is it because of what you did in prison that allowed you to reintegrate into society? Has that process been difficult? What has it been like for you to come out and then start to try and live your life as normally as possible?
My reintegration, it has never been easy. Even up to this day, it's not easy. There are people that will read about your story in the newspaper, and upon hearing that, oh, this person has done this and that, and then the trust is no more. Is no more. So even if, like what I am doing with my organization, I'm reaching to the community and helping where I can, but still there will be people who will say, no, he is just doing this for the sake of, you understand, of trying to close us up. But the leopard will never change its spots. So it's not easy when we have moved forward with your life, and then people will still drag things that we have done before into your current life. But what is important is that whatever impact that we've made in the community, for those who accept it, and then you have to appreciate and go with them.
So obviously a number of challenges that you've had to deal with. Is it fair, do you think, for people to not trust you or not to believe that you're a changed person?
I think they've got the right to not trust me, and I don't have a problem with that. I understand at their level. Again, on the other side, it looks really unfair as a person who knows that you are truly clean, and we have amended everything in your life, and you are willing to go forward and push for better.
You're a family man now. You're married?
Not yet.
But you do have a fiance?
Yes, I do.
So that always raises a question, what is that conversation like when you meet a woman you like, that you want to spend the rest of your life with, and you have to open up to her and tell about your past? What was her reaction, or did you have a plan in mind? How did you go about it?
That is the first thing that I communicate to a person that I met with, because I want a person to take a decision and a choice fairly without me hiding some other things. So I open up from the beginning to say, you must not mind me. At some point you'll find me in newspapers on this, talking about this, because I'm always at schools and talking to kids and telling them about my life story, because I'm not hiding anything, because this is the true things that has happened in my life, and I don't want anyone else to continue doing that.
What sort of questions do these kids ask you? Because you get a lot of con artists that don't look like con artists. So I mean, if you had tattoos and you were a little bit rugged, people would think, oh yes, this guy's a typical criminal. But you don't typify that. You different to me. Mm-hmm. So what sort of questions do they ask you?
They ask questions such as like, we have heard that you said that one of your co-accused was brutally murdered inside prison, and others as well has been stabbed so many times. Why did you manage to survive? How did you actually manage to survive, whereas others have found themselves in that? So I always get to tell them that prison, it's a community, and in that community, small community of course, but in that community there are choices that a person takes. There are choices that a person will take, and then the reason why those people ended up in that particular situation is their choices that has put them to there, because there is a participation in gangsterism inside. There's a positive and a negative, just like outside here.
So if you were to tell a young person today one word of advice, what would it be?
My advice will be, please don't be deceived by the what you see mostly on TV. I don't like the way the TV mostly portray the prison, and then you find that somebody is from outside, then they enter into a prison, and then right there and there's a leader of a gang inside prison is doing that. So there's no such. Honestly speaking, inside prison, it's difficult in such an extent that I don't want to spend even an hour there. So hence I told the young ones at schools to say, please don't even try to want to experience this thing even for an hour, because it's not gonna be nice. Because 1 hour surviving in prison, it's a grace.
Mlungisi, that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you so much for speaking to us on Man to Man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And that's where we leave it today. A big thank you to the European Union for making this particular edition of Man to Man possible. I'm Hugo Ribatika. Look forward to seeing you at the very same time next week. Remember, let's do better.